Meta has officially rolled out flexible ads, which are taking the place of dynamic creative ads, or DCAs. And so here's everything that you need to know about them, the differences, and what you should do to prepare for the full transition when they officially force it upon everybody. So in the last month or so, there have been certain accounts that have been seeing this little warning or like update sign on the ad set level that says, hey, dynamic creative ads will be going away. Cued by right after that is where you should have the piano that goes like dun dun dun, right? Because this is kind of alarming, seeing as dynamic creative ads, or DCAs, are they're currently one of our favorite campaign structures, and we've seen them have insane stability. In fact, I just did an episode on those being one of our current favorite campaign structures in running dynamic creative ads. They have like this wonderful longevity to them and stability and results. And so in this episode, what I want to do is break down what a DCA is and what the new flexible ad is, and what you need to, like, what's going to happen as they converge and what you need to do about it. But real quick, if you are an e-commerce business owner and you don't want to spend over $5,000 a month on an agency, and you have great products, but not a good marketing system, and you don't have consistent customers, and you want to get a lot more customers and find freedom in your business, then click the link in the description to check out the Max Profits mentorship. It's the exact frameworks we use to build highly profitable 7-figure e-commerce stores. And so things like this podcast, for example, they're only going to give you little snippets of what to do, but you'll learn and receive a ton more mentorship that's going to take your business to the next level. And there's only so much you can do inside a podcast, inside a reel, inside a YouTube video. And so if you want to dive really deep and you want to say, hey, what does it look like? Have Josh at my table and have like all of the templates, all of the systems to build a truly stable and sustainable business that's growing in a healthy way, check out that link. So what is a dynamic creative ad? Well, a dynamic creative ad, or DCA, is the lingo in our world. A DCA for short is basically, it's a setting that you turn on at the ad set level. And it's essentially where you give meta control over your ads. So instead of you choosing the combination of headline and creative and primary text or call to action, you give meta control over the combinations. For example, you might upload 4 to 5 different creatives, maybe some are videos or images, 2 to 3 headlines, 2 to 3 primary text, and maybe 3 different calls to action. Well, what happens is Meta takes each of those combinations and begins to mix and match the different variations with them. It'll take creative 1 with headline 2, with primary text 3, with call to action 1, and it will mix and match the different variations with what they believe a particular user needs to see in order to convert based on your objective. And so our greatest observations about DCA campaigns is that they take 2 to 4 weeks to just really lock in the winning creative combinations, especially when you have the more numbers you have in each one of those buckets, the more variations, right? The more creatives and primary text and headlines it needs to mix and match, it just takes more time. But within a couple of weeks, they really become these powerhouses. And so to give you an example, we have single dynamic creative ads that will run in one ad set in an evergreen environment. They'll spend $1,500 a day on one ad set with 3 to 4 creatives, 2 to 3 headlines, 2 to 3 primary text inside that dynamic creative ad. We have clients who are able to run 5 times that in single DCAs. And they also last months on end. And in other words, that means great stability. And so we're huge fans of them. And so when I first saw that they're going to be going away, it made me a little bit nervous. I'm like, oh no. This is not good, because we just did a lot of training on this and we teach our clients on all this. And so now Meta is rolling out what's called flexible ads. And so I'm looking at these and I'm like, what are the differences? Well, I wanted to go to Meta and I looked up the definition of what Meta said. And so Meta says that Meta's flexible ad format is a creative ad format that uses predictive learning to show ads in the format that's most likely to perform well for each audience member. The ad delivery system can automatically determine what media or media combination to show, such as a single image, video, or carousel. And so I'll just give you the in other words version. In other words, sounds like a lot of what we already have, and that's a dynamic creative ad to me. So there are a few, so I'm saying, what are the distinct differentiations between the two? Because unfortunately, the knowledge base of Meta is not that great, especially at visually showing you where things are and what the discrepancies are between dynamic creative ad and flexible ads. And so there are a few distinct differences that I want to run through. There are three in particular large differences. So the first thing is, it's now an option that you have to select on the ad level when choosing your ad format versus it used to be at the ad set level. So I never understood why you would turn on a dynamic creative ad at the ad set level, because that's where the targeting is selected. That was always it was always confusing to me, and so this makes a lot more sense. And so if we look at a dynamic creative ad structure, you would have a campaign, and then you would have the ad set level. Well, in that ad set level, you would turn on dynamic creative ad. Well, what would happen is, then when you go to the ad level, you can only have one technical ad in there. You would upload multiple creatives, copies, and maybe even calls to action that you wanted to split test in there. And so you can only have one dynamic creative ad inside that ad set. So what many of us do in the meta advertising world is we would say, okay, well, I want to have a dynamic creative ad in this ad set turned on, and I want to have it themed to maybe a particular angle or a concept. And then I would just make a new ad set, and I would upload all the assets, the creatives and the copy to that one that is a different angle or concept or theme. And then we make a third ad set. And so we'd kind of have to go horizontally to have the different themes or concepts that we're trying to get across, because we couldn't put them all in one. So what's kind of nice about this is you could have one ad set, so it's more consolidated, and it would actually, in theory, get more conversions, which would let Facebook optimize better, and you wouldn't have to disperse your budget as horizontally, like with different ad sets. And so overall, this structure, it makes a lot more sense to me. So that's the first change, is that now we're doing this on the ad level, not the ad set level. The second big differentiation is that you cannot have multiple calls to action in your flexible ad anymore. To me, no big deal, since we never did that anyway. Like, all we use is shop now. We want to drive high degrees of intent. We're not trying shop now, get offer, learn more. We're just using shop now. So in our experience, split testing different calls to action doesn't make a substantial difference at all in performance. And so you can't split test buttons, but who really cares? They probably took it away just because they realized it had no impact on results anyway. So that is changing, but who really cares? The third thing, and this is the largest thing that is changing, and that is that you can no longer do breakdowns, or at least at this moment in time, you can't do breakdowns by creative for whatever reason. And so what we would normally do in a dynamic creative ad is we could go to the ad set or the ad level, and we could go to the breakdowns in Facebook's reporting, and we could do a breakdown by creative. So even though we upload all the different combinations of creatives and headlines and primary text and buttons, and we could do a breakdown by the different assets within that to say, okay, I uploaded this and it's mixing and matching all these variations. Well, which creative is performing the best, which headline, which primary text, etc. Well, in flexible ads, you can no longer do that. You can do a breakdown. For some reason, that's kind of strange. You can do a breakdown by headline. You can do a breakdown by primary text. You cannot do a breakdown by creative, which doesn't make a lot of sense, because that's usually the thing that you want to know the most, because it has the greatest impact on your conversion.
Hey guys, producer Dylan here. And since the recording of this episode, Meta has actually shared that there's a slight workaround to this issue. So if you're on the ad level and you click on edit, and then you click on the share button up here and click Facebook post with comments, it actually shows you the version of the ad that's getting the most spend. Now, unfortunately, you still can't do dynamic creative breakdowns, but at least you can see which ad is getting the most spend and what is most responsible for the results that you're seeing, whether good or bad. Now, back to the episode.
However, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, one strategy that we used to use, and maybe you use this, and that is we would do a dynamic creative ad, and then we would find the best combinations of headline, primary text, and creative. And then, so we do a breakdown, see the best combinations, we would go and we would pool the post ID so we can move that into a winning campaign, maybe an Advantage Plus shopping campaign, or even an ad set of just like winning post IDs or like winning ads. But what we've kind of seen in the last several months especially, we see dynamic creative ads outperforming winning post ID ads, and for whatever reason, they just do better anyway. So I'm not too worried about it. No, it's a little harder to pull out the winning creative and identify that because you can't do the breakdowns. But does it really matter? Not to us. We make decisions primarily based on how the dynamic creative ad is doing, or in this case, how the flexible ad is performing. Rather than trying to pull out and control and grab the post ID and put it somewhere else, we're not really seeing great results in that. So is this impactful? Maybe if you pull winning post IDs and you see a lot of great results from that, yeah, this might impact you. But ultimately, we don't see that. That is the absolute minority that we see that actually working or outperforming the dynamic creative ads. So not too worried about that. But those are the three largest differences. Meaning there's not that big of a difference. It's like they had to change the name instead of just moving the destination. They wanted to change the name so it's under ad format and the ad level. There are benefits in this. So I actually am glad that they're doing this. But the question is like, what should you do if you're already running DCAs, right? If you're already running the structure and we're moving to the new thing, what should you do? Well, right now, there's nothing to do. Meta is just going to continue delivering in the format that you already have. My hunch is eventually, they usually give this little like buffer time where like they'll let you do it and then eventually they kind of force your hand. And so for right now, they're going to let you continue delivering in that format. However, my advice is that as you continue testing new things, if you're using DCAs right now, then I suggest you just house your new purchase ads in a new campaign. So rather than like injecting flexible ads and new ad sets into your existing campaign, I would recommend keep it clean, start a new purchase campaign, and then of course you have your ad set and then begin to put your flexible ads in that. It's just gonna keep everything nice and neat. And so now, rather than a typical structure of like a CBO campaign or maybe like a campaign with 3 ad sets that have 3 dynamic creative ads with different angles, one for each of those ad sets, you could have one campaign with 1 ad set, so it's all consolidated, with 3 flexible ads inside it, which by the way, is kind of interesting because that's really the format of Advantage Plus shopping campaigns, right? Advantage Plus shopping campaigns have 1 campaign, there's no ad set level, and then you have your ads. And so my conspiracy theory here is that Facebook is leaning more and more into the fact that you just need to let them do the targeting. And I could see a world where eventually Facebook says, here's your campaign, here's your ads. There are no more ad sets. There's no more targeting. You just literally give us full control over the targeting, which we don't really care because we honestly see broad targeting and doing way better than interests and lookalikes and even Advantage Plus audiences. And so my conspiracy theory is that eventually they're going to force us to the point where maybe we have just campaigns. We don't get to choose targeting. We don't get to choose any of that. And instead we just have that and then the ads level. And this is maybe one more step toward that. And so one question I do have then is, will this become available for Advantage Plus shopping campaigns? Hopefully, because we see the impact that dynamic creative ads or now flexible ads has. And so if we were able to have that degree of variation inside an Advantage Plus shopping campaign, it would just give us that much more flexibility. So Meta, if you're listening or you're watching this, just know that you can add one more tally to the vote of should we allow this inside Advantage Plus shopping campaigns from Josh Coffey and the Ecommerce Alley. But if you want to learn more about this campaign structure and how we use DCAs and dynamic creative ads, which are now called flexible ads, then I recommend checking out podcast episode 145, where I break down our favorite campaign structure right now, which are DCAs or flexible ads. The only difference is go listen to the podcast through the lens of flexible ads, and all you would do is instead of setting it up on the ad set level, you just set it up on the ad level. And that'll walk you through how to set all of those good things up. Well, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please take 5 seconds to rate it, and don't forget to subscribe if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you in the next episode.